Welcome everyone, it's Glacier Guy, rocking the Glacier as always. We're going to be showing you the assembly process for a Chaos Decimator, and we're going to be doing some magnetization because I have the Butcher Cannon right here and I have the Siege Claw, but I have two of these Decimators. One I've already assembled, we have it over here. I wanted to make sure I knew how to assemble it, how to magnetize it, and it's a lot of nice little base stands so I can paint it a little easier because it's got a whole lot of different details. So yeah, we're going to be going through, and I'm not sure how fast or how sped up the video will be, with how the final product will be, but yeah, we're just going to kind of get into it. I do plan on doing magnetization. I have these, what are they, 3/16 by 1/32 magnet. You can also use the magnet from the Army Painter. They are a little thicker, so I do recommend going for the thinner magnets, and then you're going to need some paper clips. I use just the big normal giant size paper clips. I got these from Office. I got these on like Amazon. I got way too many of these. You're going to need a nice something to clip your paper clips and stuff. You're going to need obviously a nice pair of clippers. I actually made a mistake and I used these clippers on the paper clip, and so they're a little damaged now, so I'm going to need to grab some new ones. Yeah, let's see. Obviously this is my normal hobby knife cutter. I don't use an X-Acto blade or a scalpel, and I have these three drill bits. I don't use a vise, I use these. This is the 1mm, 1.5, and 2. Most of the stuff, most of the paper clips is 1mm. And we also have a drill with a 3/16 bit on the end. We only have to use this for a little bit on the guns and the arms. So we got ourselves a cordless drill. We have various different sandpaper blocks. We have the back of a brush. This is going to be used to hold down the magnet, and it's obviously just wood, so it won't cause the magnet to have a polarity, but we're going to hold it down. We got two different types of super glue. I like a thick gel super glue for certain things, and I like a runny or thin super glue for other things. We have a marking Sharpie. I always use a marking Sharpie for marking polarity on my magnets. We have, and then of course we have all of our cork bases that we're going to be using to mount all the different bits. And a quick beginning, the way it'll look at the end is we'll have a set of legs. They'll be on the base. We will have the two different shoulder pads. These are going to be on these little dowel corks, and these are so we can paint, not so much that we can paint these, which it'll make it easier to paint these, but it's more easy to paint the underside details on the Decimator itself. If you so choose to. You don't have to. You can probably get away with priming the whole thing just like a black, and then just kind of all the details that are underneath the arms and everything. You probably get away with that. I wanted to paint all of these details, so that's why I did it this way. And let me set that down because it keeps wanting to fall. And then of course these are how the guns will look when they're magnetized. Now we're going to be going for opposite polarity or opposite arm, because this right now is the on the model. This is the left. This is the left arm claw, and this is the right arm Butcher Cannon. And so we swap them over. And but on this one, we're going to swap them on the opposite side, so we can go double claw or double Butcher Cannon if we want to. And I also have 4 sets of Soul Flame petards. I just ordered them yesterday, so they're on their way. But we're going to magnetize them the exact same. Now I will probably, I don't know if I want to order any more magnets after this, because I don't know how much other magnetization I'm going to be doing. Probably not a whole lot, honestly, with the rest of the stuff I'm building. But I only have 2 Decimators, and I didn't want to buy a third one. They are kind of a pricier kit, and I was like, yeah, let's just go with magnetizing these 2. I think they'll be pretty fun. I bought these magnets in last April. So, all right, let's just kind of crack into it. First stage is obviously inventory. Want to make sure that we have everything that we ordered. Make sure that there's nothing inside the box, or nothing. Yeah, so we can just toss that box, set that box aside. We got our instructions. Now, just like all Forge World models, they are a little bit of a more advanced kit, more advanced model. So their instructions are not super detailed, but they do have a nice little inventory sheet here. So we're gonna look over that inventory sheet real quick. All right, we got our box here. Let's see, little tape. All right, careful, good to go. All right, so we got our main torso piece, and we got shoulder, and we got shoulder. Make sure they're not the same. Good. We got our little crotch zone there. Let's see, we got a foot came off the little stands. We got another foot. So we got our 3 feet. Two of them are standing still, and one of them is moving forward. I don't know if I want to have this guy moving forward on this one or standing still. Probably moving forward on the other foot. Just so I can, because the Decimators, they look like they want to be moving forward. We got a shin, we got an arm. Let's see, these two parts right here are the pretty key parts for all the magnetization. You want to make sure that they're not damaged. You want to be really careful with these, because if you mess these up, it's going to be a lot harder to mount the magnets. So you want to be careful with those. Little exhaust vents, another shin, another arm socket. Got the cool little face, a little knee guard, little legs. What is this? This is another piece of leg, another piece of leg. All right, and then we have obviously the base, which I believe is 60 millimeter, which is interesting because like the Redemptor Dreadnought I think is 80 or 100 millimeter. It's a bit bigger than this one, so these are on a kind of they're kind of on a smaller base, which is pretty neat. And yeah, so we got our base. Let me check. This was inventoried in 27 October 2021. It was checked by ZM, whoever ZM is. This is just a pamphlet that comes with all resin models. It tells you kind of like basic assembly techniques, if you got warping or whatnot, or gating. So there will be some shims that I'm gonna leave just because they're probably gonna be super detailed. But it looks like, at first glance, it looks like we should have all of our parts, which is good. We check our weapons. Weapon looks fine. Check our other one. This one looks fine as well. We're gonna leave these in here for now, and we're just gonna kind of get working on, yeah, I'm just gonna leave those in there for now. We're gonna get working on getting these all removed from the sprue. Yeah, so let's see. Obviously, this one's already off, so we can use this one, keep a little flat foot. And yeah, so what I like to do is I like to move these all over to one side of my little area. So we're gonna go there. We set this little base up there. And then we're just going to, let's see, we want to take this stepping foot. And what I like to do is take the clippers, and you gotta be really careful, so I go up a little higher than I need to. So I can punch in. Go a little higher than I need to. Boom, clip right off. Now I don't need this anymore. This is just some spare bits. So we'll just stick these back in the box. Good to go. And then I set this aside. So right now, all I'm doing is removing them from the thing. I try to get close if I can, but I don't want to. Sometimes if you remove the gates wrong, or whatever these are called, gates, sprue bits, if you remove the sprue connectors wrong, you might end up accidentally cracking the resin, which will have to be filled and puttied. And I do have to do some putty filling on that one before I end up painting them. So, but we're not gonna be going over any putty filling in this video unless it really is necessary. This one arm is a little careful. You got a tooth here that's got a gate connected to it, so you got to be careful. You want to snip that light part, and then you got this one right here. Snip that, and then snip that, and then you can go for the big ones. Nice flush snip right there, and a nice flush snip right there. Good to go. Make a little pile of my gates. Now, there's obviously going to be some that we need to clean up, so we want to get in there. And let's see, try to get it on camera if I can. Yep. And then we'll get the rest of this off with a knife later in the next stage. Not super. Let me had an alarm on my phone. All right, this one's a little easier because we don't have to worry about that tooth. Boop, boop. Nope. There we go. All right. This one, for the most part, is fine. There's not a whole lot of gating on here. We got a little bit right there. Not so much on there. Not so much on there. We do have one right here because this is the back and it's facing down. So there's a little chain right here with a gate on it. Clip that there. and then carefully clip right about there, and then we can just, it'll fall off. And then the rest of the gates, well, I got this little one right here. We probably want to just use the knife for the rest of them. All right. These guys right here, you want to be careful with these just because they're on the edge, and these do tend to have like a little bit of crackage. So be really careful. Get close, but I always want to go from the outside. Get both on the outside, because if you go for the inside, it might stress crack the outside. We don't want that, so we're going to go for the outside on both sides. Carefully, boom, there we go. And then we're going to go inside. You can use a Dremel, but you don't really have to. I don't know, I don't really keep these. I know some people that do, but I don't really keep them all that often. They have Games Workshop logo on them. Alright, I'm going to be using these for my World Eaters. If you guys are going to be getting your own Chaos Decimator, please let me know in the comments below what you would do with your Decimator. Like what faction is he for? What weapon loadouts? So I'm going to magnetize this, and we'll have an option of either claw, butcher cannon, or double butcher cannon, or double claw, and then double soul flame petard. Because I'll be able to field each of them with 2 soul flame petards. It was a bit expensive. It's 24 bucks per petard. That is a bit much, but it's all right. Since we're magnetizing, I felt like it was it was a worthwhile investment for the options. Now it's rather annoying that the model itself still has the ability to take conversion beamers and other laser destructor arrays, things that like aren't made anymore. With these little exhaust pipes, you want to make sure that you cut here, not up to here. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, but this little key slot helps it set when you're gluing it in. All right. But I'm doing a little build-a-thon. I finished painting my Blood Angel, or my Atlantean Spears. I will be buying a nice model kit. I ordered. So you guys ever have an issue with for trying to get free shipping? So I was ordering the Soul Flame petards, and I was at $96, and I wanted to get up to $120, and I ended up, I was like, all right, well, let's see if there's anything else on Forge World that I want, and then obviously there is things on my Forge World I want. I was just looking at my wish list, and I just ended up putting Sakara and Omega in there, and so now I have now I spent $140 to get free shipping. It's because like you saved because you would have spent $10 on shipping, and so the Sakaran's like $157 or something like that. So I ended up spending a little bit extra to get that free shipping. On these little shin pads, you want to cut these little small connection points first, and then go for the ball joints second. All right, put that in my other pile. Highly recommended if you're working with resin, that you wear some sort of mask, or you're in a ventilated area. We're not going to be doing a whole lot of sanding, so the amount of resin dust is going to be limited, but you want to be careful and wash your hands after you've handled the resin. Now it's cured, so it shouldn't be too bad. That's right here. You want to pop this little square one, boop, and then this little, it's weird how this one's square and this one's round. Interesting how they did this. Careful. All right, cool, good to go. Model is surprisingly light, which is really nice. This one, same, we're going to get close, boop, and we're going to get close. All right, good to go. Kind of get in there. I was talking to my fiance, and I was like, hey, I was at work, and I was like, I think I'm gonna record a video. And then she's like, are you gonna call me tonight? Are we gonna talk tonight? And I was like, probably. I don't know how long I'm gonna be recording for. I don't know if I'm gonna do this all in one sweep. Probably not. Probably, well, maybe. But I might pause a couple times and then continue recording. So I got the Chaos Decimator on a whim. I was trying to look for things to put in my World Users Army to upgrade it from 2,000 to 3,000. And then the Chaos Space Marine Codex came out, and they nerfed my Terminators. Well, they made my Terminators illegal, which is annoying, because you can't take double lightning claws and Terminators now. All right, throw all that in the trash. Okay, so now we've done these parts. Those are good. I do want to get the weapons out of the cases because I want to remove all the stuff. So when we do detail work, we're going to do detail work on everything. So you gotta be careful. These little clamshell cases. Use your knife. You can cut pretty much wherever you want. Just keep your fingers away. Use a cutting mat if you have a cutting mat. Watch out, these are gonna be sharp. I have cut myself before on these little openings. Let me, there we go. We don't have to, so we can zoom back out a little bit. All right. There you go, pull the butcher cannon out. Take the clamshell, toss that bad boy in the trash. All right, so on this one, same thing. We always want to remove the small, look at the lights on there, good. We always want to remove the small connection point first. And then go for this big one. Now this one's luckily not that big, not like some of the tanks I've worked on. And then cool, good to go. Everything else we'll be able to clean up with a knife. Same thing with the Decimator claw. Cut the box open carefully. I really like this kind of a cutter because I can just swap the blades out and they're relatively cheap. You buy a whole pack of blades for almost nothing and they're really sharp and they stay sharp for a relatively decent amount of time. Probably put together the full army, if not half an army, with only one blade. All right, this is it. The claw. I think all the weapons cost 24 bucks each per weapon. So here we go. All right, so this one is a little tricky. Want to go for snip there, and then we go in and we snip here. Don't worry because we are going to trim these down to help fit the magnets. So don't be too careful. All right, and then we're gonna go onto the blades on the claw. Let's see. Boom, get that blade off there. All right, oh, there you go, get that blade off there. These cutters, I got them from, I got one from Japan, Fujihama, which is a tool company. They just happen to, I don't even know if these are actually considered hobby snippers. I got them from a hardware store. But they are nice. They cut nice. But I did damage the blade, so I'm looking to get some new ones. I want to keep that flat end against that bottom. Snip that off. Get that nice. Break that snip off. There we go. Good to go. All right. Cool. So now we got our blades. So move on to the next fun, eventful step. This part takes not too long on this model, but kind of can take a while sometimes. What we're going to do now is we don't really need these. We're going to use a mix of sandpaper blocks and our trusty blade here, and we're just going to go through each model and we're going to kind of look for any mold lines, clean up any edges, and for this guy, we're going to trim these extra little bits, and yeah. And then I like to trim down on the gear, and normally you wouldn't do this, but since I'm magnetizing this, I'm going to trim it all the way flush. And you're like, oh no, you've ruined it. It'll be perfectly fine once we get the magnet in there. It'll be definitely nice and tight. And you could dry fit this before you do this, if this is only your first model and you're not a little apprehensive about magnetizing. I know I did the magnetizing last night, and I was a little worried because as you know, first time ever doing it, and it's a slightly different layout than like the plastic Leviathan. So if you see there, we got some room, we got some play, which is good. But we are going to trim this side down to get even more play. We're going to put the magnet flat in there, and then we're going to drill a hole, and we're going to seat the magnet in here. And so the magnets will just sit there. And then you wonder, like, how does it stay up? Well, that's because we're going to drill another little hole in the top. We're going to drill a hole through here, and we're going to put a piece of paper clip through. And so when you magnetize it, if you didn't, it would just, the magnetization will hold it, but the thing will just kind of dangle. But this way, it'll slot in on its own, and good to go. So we're going to keep going through this one, and I want to trim both sides down, because it won't fit the magnet perfectly if we don't. Okay, this little trim action going on there. All right, so now we check the model, and so these Forward Worlds resin models sometimes have really harsh corners that you can soften them down if you want to, kind of just go on the edge, kind of break down some of that sharpness. But you don't want to do it too much on the Decimator because the sharpness does kind of add to the rock demon aesthetic, like rock and roll. All right, so cool, little metal sticks. All right, so so now I make my little pile. So this is my pile of stuff that hasn't been worked on. This is my pile of stuff that's been worked on. All right, now we're gonna kind of go through, carefully remove the gating, make it nice and smooth. All right, go through all these little parts right here. All right. And then one little trip I do, especially if you know where magnets are going to go, one thing you want to do is if you have a smooth, flush surface, like this flat surface right here, right there, this is the connecting surface. If it's smooth and flat, you want to rough it up a little bit. So what you want to do is take your knife and you want to score little scratch marks in the surface of the resin. And so what this is doing is this is allowing places where the super glue will adhere onto the resin. Because if it's super flat, the super glue will do a decent job, but it doesn't have anything to really grab onto, or not as much to grab onto, so any amount of like dropping or whatever is going to have problems. So on these will connect to these 4 little squares. So we go on there and I'll do a little scratchy on those squares, because this is where the glue is going to go. And yeah. A little scratchy, and that'll help the glue set a little better. I heard about that years ago from some guy, but I've never seen anybody ever do it. I watched a bunch of people build some Tau Mantas on YouTube, and I didn't see any of them scoring or scuffing up the connecting surfaces for their super glue. They may have done it. I just didn't see them do it. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the entire pile, and we're going to clean everything up, and then I'll be back. All right, so we have all of our bits. We've all cleaned them up. We used the blade, all nice, everything's looking good. And what we're going to do next is we're going to give them a bath. And the reason why we give them a bath is because when the resin is in the manufacturing process, they use something called a mold release agent. And so I've never had a problem with it, and it could just be the type of primers that I use. But there are complaints and reports that certain models, especially with large flat surfaces like Tau models, or maybe even these large flat surfaces, have trouble holding paint because of the mold release agent. Now I haven't ever had a problem with that, but we're gonna wash them anyways, just because also it helps with keeping, if there's any little bits of micro dust on there. So you're gonna get a little bit of water. It could be warm water. It doesn't have to be super hot. You actually don't want it super hot, especially if your stuff doesn't need to be rebent. What we're gonna do, you're just gonna toss it in the soapy water. I just used a little bit of a dish detergent, dish soap. People call it different things in different places. Just the stuff that if you're washing your dishes in your sink, just to get all nice and sudsy. Take all the bits, toss them all in there, give them a nice little bubble. They unfortunately, this little Decimator, he doesn't have any bath toys, no rubber duckies or anything. So you want to do is just like to spin them around. Get them in, and you can see them from the, like you can't, but I can. You just make sure they're all getting all nice and spun around in there. And the water will change a little bit of color depending on like the quality of the resin. And I've never done this with my 3D printed models, which I don't have that many resin 3D printed models that I've painted, but the ones I have painted, I've never had an issue with mold release agent. Mostly just because my 3D printed models don't use a mold release agent, so that's probably makes more sense. But let's see, how many Forge World models have I painted? I've assembled quite a few Forge World models, but you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think I've painted any of the Forge World models I have. You know what? I got to do that. I'm gonna have to pick a Forge World model. I'm gonna paint it. That'll probably be after I finish assembling all this giant stack of models I have right next to me. That'll probably be the first thing I do is paint one of the Forge World models that I have. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. All right, but I have a separate container of non-soapy water. And now you could like, I was using like tweezers yesterday and I was individually pulling the pieces out, but why do that when you can just reach them with your hands, give them a little rinse, and then stick them in the cleaner water. Now you will get some soap bubble transfer. That's all right, it's fine. Just kind of try to give it a little rinsey rinse. There you go. It's warm. Good thing I didn't pick cold water. Alrighty. Gotta get all these little teeny pieces. Where are you? Little claw piece. Last time I did this, I accidentally glued the claw together. Alright, let me check my water. No bits in the water. Alright, let me grab. So what you do now, let them kind of just rest in there. Spill water all over your cardboard, all over your building surface. So you're gonna get some paper towel. Now you're gonna wanna dry these. They're gonna wanna go find something to do while they dry. Which I'll probably talk to my fiance while I wait for this to dry. Because you can use a blow dryer if you're in a hurry. You can use an air dryer. You can use a blow dryer if you're in a rather dry environment, with it being the late fall onset of winter coming in and having the sniffles a little bit. We got some dry weather coming in, so I'm gonna move my mat out of the way. I need a nice flat surface, and I'm going to take always like a double layer of paper towels. So I'm gonna work. Nice double layer. I might go for a triple layer. All right. Nice little. Nah, we'll put our cutting mat underneath it so we don't have to use a triple layer. All right, nice double layer. And then we're just going to lay it out on there. A little tap tap. And then just let it hang out. Let it air dry. I don't know. Go play some video games. Go watch a TV show. Or, go take a nap, go to bed, whatever you need to do. Keep yourself occupied, go do some chores, pet your cat, pet your dog, go for a walk, go for a run, do something. But just get these on the mat, get them all nice and spread out. And then you see that it's really not that many pieces when you look at it. You don't have that many pieces. Get it all nice and... Now, if you want to keep less water on here, you can use tweezers to because my fingers are kind of pulling a lot more extra water. Oh, someone sent me a message. I need to get some new snippers, and these ones right here that I'm using. If you can't see, let me see. These ones, right there. If you see those two little dots, that's when I clipped some metal. So I need to get some new snips. So someone sent me a message with a link to some new snips. I'll have to go see if I can find some. So, all right, so we're just gonna let this air dry, and we'll be back once everything's air dried. All right, so it's been a little over an hour. Most of all the parts are dry. There's still a little bit of water inside the little netting here, but it's not on any of the contact points, so we'll be good to proceed. So what we wanna do next is you wanna make a decision. So are you going to... One, are you going to magnetize? Well, we're going to go through the whole magnetization process, so we're going to magnetize. The next question you want to ask yourself is, do you want to subassembly it so you can easily paint it? If you don't want to subassembly it and you want to paint it like a little bit less, or you want to paint it all together, then you just want to follow the instructions that come in the box. So, for example, looking here at the head, this is where the shoulder piece, so you'd want to glue this on with some super glue. Put some super glue right here, and then just stick it right on there. Now, I want to sub-assembly it, so we're going to go through the process of how we sub-assembly it so we can paint it easier. And yeah, so that's how the rest of the review is going to be, or the rest of the instruction video. All right, so let's see. One thing I want to do is I want to score these top parts, because when we do eventually paint them, or I want to score them a little bit. Now, we can always score them later, because this part will probably get some powder coat or some undercoat and some primer on it. And we're going to want to scrape that off anyways later. But I'll just pre-scratch it a little bit. And same thing with these. We can pre-scratch these a little bit. Just scuff it up. Just a little. You don't want to, not a lot of pressure, just enough to score the resin. All right, since the easiest thing for me to do right now is to put the drill holes in. And so if you look in here, so I put 2 little drill holes in, and I put the paper clips in there. So what we're gonna do, we'll do that. Now, the paper clips use a 1 millimeter, I believe, yeah, 1 millimeter bit. That's how thick the paper clip is. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna line up right here. You could try here, but I know that where this little bridge is, if you can see right there. Let me move the light a little bit. So where this bridge part is, this little support section, I know that if I drill just partially into this, then it won't punch all the way through, hopefully. And so we're gonna drill. And the question is, how far do you drill? Now that's really dependent on what you wanna do. If you wanna push fit it in, you wanna drill just a little bit further. If you wanna super glue your rod in, because you can always take the rod out afterwards. Super glue is not that big of a deal. Then you don't have to drill super deep. And so I'll drill a little bit and I'll push the rod in, see how far it goes. Just a little bit more than that. I'll go a little bit more than that. And it's all kind of about feel, and you want to keep checking to make sure you're not punching through, but we shouldn't be punching through on this one. And I'll do one on this side. You could do one hole and not two, especially if you're going to apply some super glue. But I've noticed that a lot of times if I only use one hole, it'll spin a little bit more, and I'm trying to avoid it from spinning when I'm painting it, and I don't want it to spin. All right. Okay, so we'll take everything off the rod, slide it in there. Okay, we're a little bit further than that. Okay. Cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take a paper clip. Now you can do a little bit shorter, but I like a little bit longer stock. So I'm gonna take a paper clip, I'm gonna unfurl it. And these are just, once again, these are Office Mate giant paper clips. I got them on Amazon. You can try to find a paper clip that works in your area. You can use a metal rod. You can find a metal wire. But these paper clips are so cheap for how many you get. So I kind of give it relatively. You don't have to worry about being too straight. Now for this, typically for certain things, I'll cut it into fourths, but I want to cut it for these ones, I just want to cut it in half. So find about roughly where the half point is. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so then I got two sides. Length's not the same, but that's fine. What I want to do is I want to put a 90-degree bend. So what I'm going to do is take my pliers, stick it right near the tip of the needle of those pliers, and I want to just bend down 90 degrees. And then, so we got that one, and then I'm going to do it again to this one. Bend down 90 degrees. Now I'm going to take, so I reuse these a lot, and they're just wine corks. Take a wine cork. Now this one already doesn't have a pilot hole, so we want to hold onto this, and we're going to punch a pilot hole into the wine cork, and then we're just going to feed it down into the cork. And then we're going to do the next one. And it doesn't have to be exact science, but we're going to feed it down into here. And I like to do this first before putting it into the. Now you want to be careful because, so the way cork is, it's got different resistances, and as you're pushing the wire through, it has a tendency to kind of butt out the side, and you don't want it to. You don't want it to show the side. Maybe if I press onto it, it would just be like you want to just inch it in there. See that if your finger was right there, it probably won't go into your finger, but it will hurt. So take that back out, bend it a little bit, try a new pilot hole, go a slightly different direction. You can also drill. You can take your little drill bit and drill a little further. Well, now they're roughly the same height. So you see they're roughly around the same height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test fit these 2 points into these little holes and see if I need to put any super glue. That one went in pretty easy. This one is not good. Okay, that one finally went in. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we've had them in there, and then we're just going to kind of shake it around and see because I'm not going to use a lot of whole force on here. So when I'm out there and I'm priming it, is it going to come out? Is it going to come out of this? No. I did have one where it was a little loose, so I did put a little super glue in here on one of the other ones I did, but this one's looking pretty good. So we got that one. Let's set that one aside. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other one. And yeah, just nice little drill 2 little holes. While we do this, we're let's see, what are we talking about? Talking about video games, I guess. No, nah. Let's talk about Imperial Guard. So I got the older sculpts, a lot of Acadians. I got a lot of infantry, and I'm trying to decide what I really want to do. Do I want to get all new Cadian shock troops and replace my current ones and just paint them under the color scheme of my current ones? I kind of want to do that. I have three infantry squads right now, and they're really showing their age, and I'm not really motivated to paint them because they're older sculpts, and I'm just not a huge super fan. And the new sculpts look pretty nice, and I think the new sculpts will take my color scheme really well. So I'm really starting to think about just selling or donating my older Cadian shock troop, my older Cadian infantry squads with their heavy weapons to just somebody in the local area and just be like, hey, I'll sell these for like $50 for all 6 squads, or maybe $100 for all 6 squads. They're not, some of them are painted, some of them aren't. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. Because I do like the new sculpts, but we're still waiting to see. But I don't plan on, I was getting a little bit upset, and I was like, well, maybe I should just, get rid of all of my units. But I looked at my models, and I definitely want to keep all my metal models. They still look really unique and cool. I'm still excited to paint all of them. And my Victoria Miniatures resin models, I still definitely want to keep those. I might have to put some different weapons on them, because if I can take 2 weapons, I might want to take 2 weapons. Or 2 special weapons. So same thing, cut in half, bend 90 degrees. Hold on, I gotta turn the fan on. I turned the fan off because it's cold outside, but under these lamps, these CFL lamps, yeah, these are they're better brightness than the LED. The LED bulbs will flicker on camera, but these ones, at least the LED bulbs I was using, they were flickering on camera, but these CFL ones won't. But they do put out some heat, and it is colder. And I turned my computer off, so it will get colder, but it is still a little warm in the room. The rest of the house is probably really cold, but my office is nice and warm. Same thing. We want to push these in, get them in there. They don't have to go super far because these shoulder pads aren't really. What's the word? They're not, oh, hold on. I think we can cut this down a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, I think this is like way longer than I wanted it to be. Yeah, I'll cut a little bit off. There we go. Oh, there we go, nice. Now you can only reuse these so much before there's too many holes and there's not enough cork resistance, but it's fine. They'll last for a few models, and then you can always they're not super expensive. And if if you drink a lot of wine, you don't even have to buy them. You just take them off your wine. If you see this little bubble right here, we will. There's some stuff that definitely needs to get green stuffed. Try to get my lights aimed a little better. Yeah, there's definitely some parts where we're gonna have to do some gap filling, which is fine. Get some milliput. We'll do this probably tomorrow. Well, actually, I probably won't even do it. Well, yeah, I could probably do it tomorrow. I probably won't do it on video though. Gap filling I will do off camera. All right, so we got them in the holes. A little press fit on there. See, is it gonna fall off? No, doesn't wiggle. Good to go. Got the second shoulder pad done. Shoulder pads are done. All right, cool. Now what we do next, let me get my instructions. Let me take a gander. We can, yeah, we're just gonna really move on to kind of putting it together. We got these little pipes, and I always look at the instructions because I've only done this one other time. I mean, I could just look at the other model and see how I did the pipes on this one. Okay, so they all face backwards. They are keyed in, so you know which ones go where. So this one will go there. This one will go there. All right, so you can use an accelerator. So you can use, this is, so if you're using Superglue, which is a cyanoacrylate, I think is how you pronounce it. You can use an accelerator to make it go, it go faster, make it go nice and faster. So I wish I had a dropper instead of a spritzer, but a little spritzy action. A little spritz action on there. All right, I'll dab off the excess, put the cap back on. take my super glue. Now I have gel super glue and I have thin super glue. I try to use the thin stuff because it's cheaper than the gel stuff. All right, so we're gonna go, this is in the front. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit right here. Just a little bit, a little dab will do you. And then it's kind of set in here, and the CA glue will cure, or the accelerator, it'll cure really fast. It'll hold a bond really quickly. So no worries. If you're not using accelerator, it might take a few seconds, especially since these are relatively smooth connection points. I did score it a little bit, but it, you know, but it's a little better. Now this one, you could make a mistake. You want to make sure the pipes are facing backwards, and then kind of line it up a little bit, and then it should give it a little wiggle. There you go. Now, while it's still curing, even though the accelerator does accelerate the process, you still want to give it a few seconds to like fully seat. You don't want to try it, because if you put in enough pressure, it'll snap right off. But it was just good if you make a mistake. If you're like gluing the wrong spot, you're like, oh crap. Now, if it's been kind of set for a while, you're gonna want to freeze it. You're gonna put it in the freezer, and then extreme cold breaks down the super glue bonds, and it helps you snap it apart easier. So, all right, got the little pipings on there, good to go. Now we want to get the face on there. Now this one, I had them facing kind of straight forward and down a little bit, but I realized that they've kind of hunched over forward. So I want this one to be facing like up a little bit. So we're gonna go up and to the left. Yeah, we'll go up and to the left just a little bit on this one. Now on this, it's a ball joint, so I can put a little bit of the accelerator. You want to be careful when you have the accelerator right next to. So I got a little bit. I still have some accelerator coming out of the little weep hole right here. Just gonna rub some on there, not a whole lot. Now for the ball joints, I like to use the gel super glue for the little ball sockets instead of this one. Now you're gonna, if you're not wearing gloves, you are gonna get a little bit of super glue on your fingers. Just make sure you wash your hands before you eat anything. And if you hear a wheezing sound, that's my cat. My cat occasionally will just straight up wheeze. I brought him to the vet and he's fine, but yep, that's a thing he does. I think it's a hairball. All right, so we want to put it on there, kind of try to angle it. It will set really quickly. And just kind of keep it on there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Come on. I want you to set. Cool. All right, we got the head on there. He's looking all menacing. You doing all right, bud? You getting that hairball out? You got it? Cool. No? No? I think you got it. Yeah, we all have problems. It's getting drier over here, so he's doing all right. All right, moving on. Let's see. What do we want to do next? Cannons, no. I can't remember. Oh, you know, we can glue the splines on the stick. There we go. We can put these little claws on here. Now these ones, you can use a little bit of this. Let's do a little spritzing action on here. Kind of get it going. All right, cool. Little dabby action. All right, so we take these. They're all the same, so I don't have to worry about key slotting them or anything. Stick them on there. And you just want to line them up and then slap them right on there. And then with the accelerator, they should be good to go really quickly. Now I feel like I got some accelerator on my fingers, so I gotta be really careful not to super glue these to my fingers. Make sure you got proper ventilation. All right, and boom, bada boom, bada bing, multi-pass. come on. There you go. Cool. That one didn't seat perfectly. I mean, it's glued, but it wasn't flat. Maybe need a little bit more work on that one, but it'll be fine. All right, last one of these little claws. All right, oh, hold on, let me kind of, oh, this one's a little tight. This one doesn't want to, okay, so for this one, let me go in and shave a little bit off the side here. Let's see if that works. No, that does not work. I'm gonna have to, let me just clip that section right there. And then, there we go. That'll work just fine. Come on. Try to get this, I think the glue dried. All right, so we'll put a little bit right there. The accelerator and the glue dried, but they dried separately. So just hold on to this for just a few seconds. Oh, no, that slipped. That's what you get. So I scored both ends, but they're not super scored. And so the super glue will just slide. And it doesn't want to stay together for some reason. Come on. There we go. All right, we'll leave that alone for a little bit. Now, one thing I know I'm going to want to do, because I'm going to do exactly what I did with this one, is I want to, through the, now this is like a flamer that comes out of this claw. I want to drill through this flamer to be able to put a rod in here for painting ease. We do that now. Now this one, there's not a hollow thing inside. Typically, there's not a hollow section, at least not with the other one. So I can go down quite a ways. And then we can see how far in. And we go just a little bit further. But this thing, once again, this part's really light, so we don't have to go super far. All right, so we got that one done. Let's see. The legs are difficult. The legs are a pain. So I want to save the legs for the end. So let's move all the leg pieces. Foot, leg, 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 leg. So what we're left with is the arm sockets and these parts. So this is where we get into the more nitty-gritty part of doing the magnetization. So one thing I want to do is I want to shave down these little nubs. I didn't shave them down earlier. You gotta be careful because the angle, if you're not careful, cutting these nubs off, you might hurt yourself. Let me see where my, there they are. See if I can get it in there flush, trim it down a little bit. Okay, I should be able to just scrape it with my blade. Once your blade starts to go dull, this might be a little bit harder to do. Let me move the camera just a little bit that way. Nope, that's a little too far. There we go. Okay. It's a little better. It's kind of more where my arms are. All right, so well, this is what I do. Typically I will listen to YouTube while I'm doing this, but I figured I'd record a video. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna, I don't want to buy 3 army boxes to get 60 of the infantry, unless the army boxes are really cheap. But I mean, I do like the artillery pieces, and the command squads would be cool, and the castellans would be cool, but I'm probably just gonna buy 1 box so I can get the codex, and then we'll just go from there. But I kind of was like, man, I should replace them all with Acadians, but I'm not 100% sure. Because I also kind of wanted to make the new box all Peanut Legion, because I thought it would be kind of funny. But then having the older guard has been a Peanut Legion would also be good. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put two drill holes through the barrel. Now they're already drilled, so this isn't me drilling barrel holes. This is so I can put painting rods in them. And you gotta be careful because this part is more flexible resin, and so you don't want to go super deep, because it's a lot softer for some reason. I don't know if they use 2 different resins for this, or if this is just what happens when the resin is this thin. But I'll just drill 2 little holes. I don't have to go so far, and you gotta be careful because if you're off alignment too much, like if you're using like this one, I do it by hand, and so I just have it and I just spin it. Like I used to use a pin vise drill. It's kind of the same thing, but after a while, like this sucks. This right here does suck when you're doing it a lot. And I have looked at the magic wand, the little torque screwdriver, and so that does look like an option. But so 2 little pilot holes. All right. So what we're gonna do next is through each of these tops, we're going to drill a hole. Okay. Let me zoom in just a smidge. Yeah, so each of these tops we're gonna drill a hole. We'll start from here. I'm gonna go grab something. I'll be right back. All right, so we're back. So let's see what we're doing next. Oh, that's right. We're doing pilot holes through the top thread right here. Just careful. Got to be careful or you're gonna mess this up. You're using the 1mm drill bit because we're gonna be putting a rod through this hole. And I mentioned it before, but you're like, why would you put a rod through this hole? So if you don't put a rod through this hole, then the magnetized bits that you stuff in here will not work. Am I great? Yeah, okay. It is fighting me. Here we go, punch through, cool. All right, so we got the hole. Now what's gonna happen is this, let's say right here, let's say we're using this. This right here is going to slot into this hole and it's going to pop right through and then it won't fall up or down. So that's what we're trying to do because that one's already magnetized. But we're gonna do that with this gun. So what we have to do though is what I noticed is you want to take your 1.5mm, and this is an optional step, but you want to put a slight, like just like a little turn bore, but not all the way through, and just kind of bore that out just a little bit, but you don't want to go all the way through. So when you're seating in here, it seats easier because you're not trying to find a 1mm hole, you're trying to find a 1.5mm hole. So you got a 1mm rod, and you're just trying to camfer it into there and it'll seat a lot easier. I don't know if my cat wants to get in the garage. So we've done that with that one, so we're gonna do that with this one. Make sure we start with a 1mm so we're not making the hole too big. I made a mistake on one of them and I made the hole way too big. And I had to use a slightly longer rod, but it worked out. But on this one, now that I've tested the principle, I want to apply it. So we're punch through, nice and slow, don't go too fast. Want to stay, yep, make sure you're on line. And then it will, there we go, nice little squeaky sound as it punches through. All right, and then we want to push the drill bit through, make sure it goes all the way through. Same thing, little tiny, you can do this with a knife, but a little pilot hole. Cool, all right, so these are done. Now we have to put magnets on the inside of these. We can set these up here. We don't need these right now. We have to put magnets in these, and we have to put a magnet on one side and not the other. And so we have to decide. So the way I did these, the way I did this first one is I put the magnets on the outside, and I want to mirror that. I want to make sure that they're the same. So I want to put the magnets on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, where'd it go? Where did the Sharpie go? Ah, there you are. You take the Sharpie, and I want to mark what I'm going to mark as the outside. So I'm going to put a little, come on. Here we go. A little Sharpie line, and then a little Sharpie line. Come on. Here we go. Cool. So put a little Sharpie line. Now I also want to score that because we're going to put the magnet there. I want to be careful not to like stretch or de-stretch these as much as possible. So I'm going to score this a little bit because the problem is, so there's two ways you can magnetize these. But with the size of magnets we're using, we could, so there's multiple different ways. You could drill straight through this side into this side and sink the magnet in. which would be flush and would look nice. But if you sink the magnet in, that means you're going to have to milliput or green stuff over the hole that you just made to put the magnet on this side. And you can't angle, this angle's too shallow. So on the Leviathan Dreadnought, the plastic one, this is actually two pieces that get glued together. And so you can easily drill a hole and put the magnet. Actually, the Leviathan actually has a slot for a magnet. This one, being an older model and being a Forge World, doesn't have that. Also, GW doesn't really want you to be using magnets, kind of. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Or maybe they just want to make it difficult. Obviously, they would prefer if you just bought the model, built the model, and painted it. Or actually, they would prefer if you just bought the model and not did anything with it. Well, anyways. All right, so you want to score the side, boom, 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 scored it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, so what I have to do now is, I got my magnets. What I want to do is, because I have a second one, I want to match the polarity to what I did on here. So I'm going to take the magnet, because I want to be able to interchange the sides. All right, so we're going to do, so this is going to be left side, this is going to be right side. So I take one magnet off, and I let it go, and I just let it sit inside here. Come on. There we go. All right, so that's the polarity I want. I'm going to set these magnets back in the bag. And then, let's see. That's the polarity you want. I want to use this side. Let me set this over here. So this is going to be this arm. All right, so let's see. Put a little R right here. This is the right arm. Okay. Now I need to pop this out. Come on. So what I can do, and this will be a little easier actually, pop this out. So on this one, let's see. This is the right arm gun that goes in here. So the polarity is that way on this one. So what I can do is I can just stick this right on there, and if I try to flip it the other way around, it's not going to want to do that. So what I do is I take a little Sharpie mark, pull a mark on that side. So I got the Sharpie mark on this side, and I got the Sharpie mark on the magnet, and then I can just slot this in, and this will be the right one. And then, so this will just go in like so. It fits even more snug. But what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue right there. We're going to put the magnet right on top of that glue. So I need, did I use, what did I use last time? I think I used this. So I used the liquid stuff and it made a mess once. So we're going to use the gel, because gel's got a little bit more forgiveness on the gel super glue. And we're just going to put a little drop right about there. We don't have to use a whole lot. This stuff dries a little slower, which is good for what we're doing right here. And we're going to take this magnet. We've already marked our polarity, and we're just going to keep it nice and level. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see on the camera. And this is where the paintbrush comes in handy. So we just stick it right kind of in the middle. Yeah, that's kind of where I want to put the magnet, like right in the middle. And this is a little bit more annoying because you're just putting a magnet on a flat surface. It would be like way more secure if you countersunk it, but then I'm drilling through this and I don't want to. All right, so now that it's kind of pretty much centered up, I'm going to take some of this accelerator and I'm just going to spritz it, which is hard to see, but unfortunately that's what's going to happen. Just going to spritz it. I'm going to kind of let it sit there, and I'm going to dab off some of the excess accelerator, and then the accelerator is going to get in there, and let me just tab it, and there we go. Let me just see if it's moving. It does not appear to be moving. That is good stuff right there. Now we can test to see if this works. I'm going to give it a couple seconds. I'll be back in a little bit, and we'll give it just a few seconds to dry, and then we'll test it. All right, let it rest for a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use this as our test to make sure everything sticks in there nice and flush. So the magnetization's good. Let's get the pin in there. All right, pin stays in there. We are good to go. This is good to glue in. All right, so what we want to do is we want to put it on the right arm. Now, luckily on these, you can decide what you want the right arm to be. Now on this one, my right arm is this chaos symbol, which would be this. Now, do I want them to match? No, not really. I actually don't want them to be uniform. And so the really only kind of option for this one, aside from like green stuffing, is to just use this as the right arm. So I'm going to use this as the right arm, and then so it'll be swapsies. And so all I have to do is stick this in here, but I want to make sure that the magnet stays on the outside. So I'm going to put a little bit of, now you don't want to cover this little porthole. Put a little bit of the glue just right around here. Just a little bit. Sometimes these applicators like to spit more out than you need. Put it in there, and then we just line it right up, and there's a little rivet. You can kind of move it just a little bit to the outside of the rivet for more of an angle, or you can just stay aligned with the rivet. Works just fine. And you can just hold it for a couple seconds. I always end up putting the cap in my mouth. All right, and then see, I'm still getting some movement, so I'm going to take that off. I'm going to hit it with some of the accelerator. And then really quickly, because you can do that, just really quickly, but you gotta be careful. Then I'm gonna put it back on there with the accelerator added. And then that'll make an instant bond. And you gotta be careful, because you can spray accelerator on top of CA, but you're fighting the clock right there. So you typically wanna put CA on one side, accelerator on the other, and then but if you're quick, even the accelerator says that you can spray it on top of super glue. And that's a good way if you got super glue somewhere you don't want it to be and you want to dry it faster, you can just hit it. But all right, so we got the right arm, so we're good to go. And we gotta be careful because this, this could be the left arm if we're not careful. But it's not, it's gonna be the right arm. Okay, cool. So we did the right arm, and now we're just gonna do the exact same thing to the other side. All right, so on this one, I already marked up my right side, so I'm gonna take another magnet, or my left side, take another one of these nice little thin magnets, and I'm gonna put it on so I'm gonna put this gun back, because we've already used this as a reference, and I'm gonna put it on this claw arm. And so now I have it sitting in here, and we're gonna just do a quick little testy fit. And all right, so yeah, that sits in perfect. We'll pop that back out. So we're gonna take the gel glue that we had before, and I want to mark the outside of this with a little dot. Cool. Take the gel glue. Nope, not that. We take the gel, and we're just gonna put a little, hold on. Sometimes little tips get super glue on the tip, and I wanna clean that glue off. Get off my hand. There we go. All right, put a little drop will do you right in the middle. There you go, nice little drop. Then we take the magnet off here, and we're sticking the dot side down. Come on. This stuff's so delicate and temperamental. And of course, it doesn't want to sit on my glue very well. Line it up. And then I'm gonna use the brush itself to press the magnet down into the part I want it to be pressed into. Now it's not gonna bond right away, so I will use some of this accelerator. And I'm just going to spray right, come on. Here we go. Got some accelerator where I wanted it. Take my paper towel, clean up some of the mess. All right, and try not to super glue my fingers to the piece. All right, and then we are good. Okay, I'm going to put the cap on my super glue. The gel cap, you don't need to put it on as quickly, but all right. So we got the left socket, magnets in there. Now we're gonna use our test fit for, where'd it go? For this guy. One thing before we do that, let's tap the magnet and see if the magnet moves. Magnet is not moving, which is good. Now let's test fit in. Obviously it wants to glue on there. Hold on. Oh, yep, upside down. Wait, yep. Oh, there we go. A little temperamental. Try to put it in backwards. Come on. Line up the hole. Okay, so this one, the magnet's in there. You got to really line up that hole. It's not a perfect fit between the rod and the magnet. Also, this was a little tighter than it probably needs to be, but it'll look fine once it's all together and painted. So this works when it comes out pretty easy. All right, cool. All right, so we can set those back. Okay, now I take my arm. Where'd it go? Where'd my little arm go? Right here. Cool. All right, so now, because this is going to be the right side, we want to put this on the outside, so we're going to put this like so. Make sure it dry fits, make sure it lines up. Now, because we had that issue before, we're going to hit a little bit of CA. We already scored it, so a little CA on. Come on. Yeah, okay, so we got a little bit of the accelerator on there. Put a little bit of this gel. Come on. All around the outside. Come on. There we go. And we want to line it up, and we don't want to mess it up. So line it up there, and we're just going to keep that lined up right there. Make sure we got two opposites. We got two opposites, good to go. Good to go. And it's all nice and glued. Okay, cool, so that part's done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drill into the guns. Now we want the guns to be opposite of what the other guns are. So we want the magnet, so the magnet on this one is on this side, we want the magnet on the other side on this one. So when we put it in the left arm on one guy, we can swap it out and put it in the other arm on the other guy. But we still do need the top pilot light, and so I want to line it up with this one because I want them to kind of be aiming kind of at the same angle. So let me find my 1mm drill bit wherever it went. Everything always moves around. That's my 1 point. That's my. All right, where are you? There you are. All right, so I want to find out. I'm going to line up where this one set up, and it is not the top, so that would be the tip right in the top, and this one is, and you can look at how it's going to go in there, and it's going to be slightly off center, and so I want to put it, that would be the middle. You can go up a little bit, and I want to put it right there. It's not a perfect science, and you don't have to go super deep into it if you don't want to, because you're just putting a little bit of copper in there. Now, before you put anything in there, you have to drill the hole for the magnet. And so, since we want the hole, now I made a mistake on this one. I drilled all the way through. You don't have to. I think I did it with both. Did I do it with both? Oh no, I only did it with the gun. All right, so we're gonna go in through this side. And now I don't mind drilling a pilot hole all the way through. This will be fine because we can have a little weepage, but you don't have to. Drill just a starter hole. Oh, it was off camera, so I drilled just a little starter hole. Apologies, let me zoom out. All right, so I drilled a starter hole, and now I take my drill, and I have it on the lowest torque setting. I got it in 1. You got to be careful with this because if you go too deep, you just went too deep, and your magnet's going to sit weird. But I like to go nice. Just, you can use a different, you can do this by hand if you want to, but this size drill bit's a pain in the ass to get started by hand. Just let the drill do the work. And then check it every million fucking seconds. Because this is, you know, you're drilling into like a $24 piece of resin right now. And I don't have a 3D STL for this. I couldn't find one. Alright, it's not, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm using So these magnets are the other magnets. These are 3mm diameter magnets from Army Painter. I don't know how wide they are, but they're 3mm, or I don't know how deep they are, 3mm wide. So now, before I put the magnet in, well, I can set a magnet in just to see if it's the right depth, and we're not exactly where we want to be. We want to be flush when we put this magnet in. So we got to take it out, and you want to just be careful. Now, if it's flush, you can actually just, sometimes they don't even need super glue. They just sit there friction based. We're almost there, almost there. All right, that should be good. Let's go just a little bit more. All right, that'll be good. No problem there. You do want a little cavity in there, and the reason why you put a little cavity in there is so the glue will kind of sit in the bottom. So super glue will sit there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, where's my arm? Where's my, okay, so this is the right arm, so left arm. Okay, so I find the left arm magnet, and now I need to find a magnet that has the polarity that will match this. So I take one of these magnets off my little magnet stack here, stick the other ones over there, and then I just kind of let it fall. And so that shows me where the polarity is. Same thing I do with this. Mark where the polarity is, or mark where I need to. If I can get the damn freaking Sharpie, sometimes it dries out, the tip dries out. It doesn't want to mark on metal. Come on. Here we go, okay. So now I take it off. No, not you. Got a little stowaway. There we go. Okay, now I just push the magnet off. Okay, got it. All right, cool. And now you gotta be careful. You don't want to handle the magnet too much because of the little mark you put on there. All right, so I need the. So now with this, we take just a little bit. I like to use the gel glue for this. Take a little bit of gel, stick it in the hole, and then we're gonna put marker side down. We're going to slide it into the hole, and we're going to use the brush to press in, because the brush is made of wood. Come on. Did I? So this is when it, like, sometimes the hole is drilled deep enough, but it doesn't want to flatten out because it's trying to find an air pocket when you're flattening it. And it can't find an air hole, and so you're just pressing against it, and like the glue is trying to find an air pocket, and it's not finding one. But that is pretty much, that's pretty solidly in there, so we should be good. And so a way we can test to make sure it works is we take the one we finished and we stick it in there. And so the rod's not in there. So if you didn't put the rod in there, then you're gonna get a floppy butcher cannon. We don't want a floppy butcher cannon. But that rod works because now we put this one in this side, and it's stable. And then we put this one in this side. So now we know that we have an option to magnetize two with two butcher cannons. That's what we're trying to do. Alright, so what I gotta do now is I gotta take a bit of paper clip, and then the easiest way to do this is to put, I like to use the liquid super glue for this one, just because it goes into the hole a little easier. We got a little weep hole right here. Hold on. Oh, 1 second. A little bit of flashing, didn't sand down. Okay, I take a little weep hole, and I put just a little drop super glue onto the weep hole, kind of spread it around a little bit, line it up, press it into the weep hole. All right, and it's not very deep, so just press it in there, give it a little friction, and then we need to know how long to cut it. And it's not super long, but we can kind of line it up a little bit, kind of eyeball it, and say I want to put it, and we can make it. Now this is all about feel. You kind of want to eyeball a little bit. I'm like, I'm thinking right around there will work. And then we're going to test fit it. And then you don't have to put super glue on the other end because you want to be able to take it in and out. But before we put it in there, because that super glue is still drying right there, we'll dab that off with a paper towel so we don't accidentally get some weird contact. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to slide it up in there and see if it seats, and it seats perfectly. And there we go. That's how you magnetize the arm, and to make sure it works, you just pop it right back out. And you're good to go. And the magnet stayed, and everything's good. Now let's test it on this one, because this one's already done. Let's see if it seats. And it seats and it stays, and it doesn't fall down. We're good to go. And so we take this other one, and that's for what I did yesterday, and that one seats. And there we go. 2 butcher cannons, magnetized. Nice. Now let's pop it out. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing I did with this one, but I'm gonna do it on the left side. So I'm gonna do it for this arm. And we'll be back when I'm done. All right, so I got the claw working, and now we got, for this little guy, we can put claws on both left and right. So we're gonna pop those off, put that back over there. All right. And I think that'll be it for tonight. I will pick back up tomorrow, but for you guys, it'll be the same video. And then when we pick back up, oh well, you know, we can glue the arms on. Let's glue on the arms. Make sure I got them on the right side. Yep. All right. So let's glue on these arms. So what do you want to do before you glue on the arms? Is you want to score the ball. Be careful. You don't want to, because it's rounded. You want to slide off, cut your finger. Score the ball joint. Just a couple hash marks in there. You don't have to do this, but it sits really well if you do. Score, score, score. Take the inside of the ball joint, score up the ball joint. I think I've already scored these. That one I did, this one I didn't. Score, score, score. And then, okay, so let me look at that one, Okay, cool, yep. So we're just gonna set them up here. Now with this one, I take a little bit of the CA, give a little spritz inside the, wow, that's a big spritz. That was a splooge. And it went everywhere. A little spritz, and then I'm gonna soak up some of this. I don't need so much, we don't need all that in there. All right, and then a little spritz on this end. Come on, there we go. Good spritz in action. All right, clean that up. All right, then we're gonna take the gel, put the gel on the ball joint, take the gel super glue, put it on the ball joint, and then I kind of like to have either a neutral pose or a slightly leaning back or forward pose. On this one, I'm gonna go for, because this side's gonna be the claw arm, I'm gonna go for a slightly forward leaning, but not super forward leaning. Just a little bit of forward leaning pose on this guy. And it sets perfectly quick. And we got our arm on there. There we go. So that's looking menacing. Now we're put the arm on there. Put the claw on there, if I get the claw seat right. Yep. Oh yeah, it's looking nice. It's looking nice and menacing right there. It's got to look like he's aiming the claw upward. Pop that back out. Good to go. All right, let's get this other arm in there. All right, gel, 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 gel. Oh, it's already got the gun on it. Well, let me pop that gun off. All right, got the gel, and then I want this one to be more of a neutral arm, maybe a little bit of backswing on it. I'll do about right there. It'll be fine. And then it sets almost instantly. Good to go. So now we can put our guns on there. And then, because where it's set, so the gun's there. Put the claw in there. Oh, there we go. All right. Looking snazzy. Looking great. So, our next phase is going to be all about them legs. And realistically, this part, while the drilling and the magnetizing and everything was difficult, it was pretty straightforward. The legs, however, this is where your kind of imagination's gonna run wild, and like how you want it to go, and it'll probably be kind of like this, which is opposite of the other one. And then, yeah, so this one is a little bit more, a little bit more futzy. And one thing that, yeah, so, but we'll futz with that another time. And yeah, we'll just, for you, it'll be the same video, but for me, I am going to bed. So, bye. All right, so it's been a whole new day. Doesn't look like it to you guys, but so we finished the magnetization yesterday, and now that means we can put these magnets away. I like to put the magnets away when I'm not using them, so I don't accidentally like put them too close to my phone or something, or get them too close to metal I don't need to put them in. And I got a drawer specifically reserved for the magnets, so put those away. Let's see, where are we at? Well, I want to put the gun, I want to put the arms on their own cork bases so they're easier to paint. I got a couple things. Ooh, I picked up a new set of snips from the old hobby store today. So those will be used in future builds. But for this, yeah, we're just going to use this one. We already have this piece of wire from yesterday. And we have a hole that's already pre-done. Just oh, okay, so there's something in this piece of cork that doesn't, there we go. Sometimes there's like denser pieces of cork wood and it doesn't want to go through, so you gotta be really careful. So I got this one. We already pre-drilled a hole in this yesterday inside the barrel. And we're just going to stick it in there with friction. You shouldn't have to glue it in there because you should have drilled it long enough to where it's just all friction based. And there we go. So that one's done for that. So let's set that aside. Now we got to screw the barrel. Take another piece of cork. I'm gonna get a new paper clip because I want two semi-long ones. And so with this, I'm actually going to just bend this open. I was recording last night until almost 10 o'clock for the first half of this video, and then by the time I went to bed it was like almost 11, and I was like, oh, I was so tired at work. Alright, so abruptly about the same size, not that big of a deal. Find, this one's already got two relatively close holes. Stick them in there, there you go. There's always a joke like, oh yeah, you drink all that wine? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I totally drank all that wine. And then they're like, really? I'm like, no. I just bought a bag of these. There we go. Oh, nice and stuffed in there. Okay, now it's not super level, so we can just find a pot, snip them at the same point, so they're the same height. We put those little holes in the end of this butcher cannon yesterday. All right. Beep, beep, beep. Come on, get in the hole. I had breakfast for dinner. I really wanted an little omelet scramble, so that was fun. All right, so then our butcher can's ready for painting. So what we're doing next, we'll do the leg stand for this guy, or we'll do the stand for the top torso after we do the legs. So what I want to do with the legs is I want to take a look at the previous legs I did and mirror what I did, but in the opposite. So we have the stepping foot. You can have the two flat feet if you want. I tend to think the flat feet look better if you're using like two of the guns. But since I want the option to have like the claws, I wanted it to be more walking, and I think it just looks better. Now the stepping foot, you could put it in the front, but it's weird when you step in the front, because when you normally walk, think about this, you normally step with your, do you step with your back foot? I think you do. Hold on. Oh, now I'm gonna have to try it. Do you ever step with your, do you ever push off? No, it's always the back foot, at least when I just stood up. Maybe I'm crazy. I'll think about that later. I'll be like, oh, you never do step with your front foot. Like you step out, but your feet don't do this. So we're gonna do that on the back foot. And so now this part is kind of tricky because the waist is only so wide. This little waist piece is only so wide, and these legs only pitch in a certain amount, and so you want to make sure it's not too wide. Now luckily, if you're using the base it comes with, you should be fine by just kind of eyeballing a little bit. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the accelerator, I'm going to spritz where I think I'm going to put the legs, and then I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to use the gel super glue for this one, but I want to score the bottom of the feet a little bit, just like I did with the rest of it. And it's fine if the accelerator dries a little bit. You don't have to be super rushing with this, but just like get a nice glob right here, nice glob right here. All right. I bought some lottery tickets today, so maybe we'll see if we get lucky. Okay. And I'm just gonna set it right here. Man, what do we do? What model would you buy if you won the lottery? I don't think I'd buy a Manta. Or if I did, I would, I'd definitely have somebody else assemble it and paint it. They'd be like, yeah, that's not my thing. No, if I won the lottery, I would see if I can turn my novel into like an anime or a movie or a live action movie. That's what I would do. After I bought a nicer house, kind of little ways out of there. All right, so you want to just kind of figure out where you want it to be. Once you're there, you're committed, which is good. You know, at some point you want to commit. Now, if you're wanting to be more fancy and you want to put like rocks and make it more elevated or make it look more dynamic, you do you. Go for whatever you want. You can probably make it more dynamic by putting a pin through the foot into like a rock or something. Like if you're making cork, instead of gluing it onto the cork, that might be an option. Or if you're using a different kind of base than what this is. But we're going standard, basic, just assembly. All right, so now what we got here is we have these two shin pieces. These are relatively, I believe they're pretty much mirror copies for the most part, so they can go any way we want. So what I like to do is kind of set them on there. Now you have your little leg section pieces right here, and one side's wide and one side's narrow, so I always think the narrow side, and so I always try to figure out what's the top and what's the bottom, and I haven't really been able to tell, so I don't think it super matters, but I'm just going to dry fit everything to see where I want to put it. And this is why I recommend using the gel super glue without any accelerator for this part once you're starting to glue everything down. And so if you see right here, even with the narrow part, it's still not super tight on this part. So you will have to use some glue. And once you get super glue on there, it'll stay nice and snug, but it's a little loose right now. All right, so and let's see the way yep, so you want to kind of bring the knee forward for this one. Yep. And it is a bit of a pain. You gotta line them up. Yeah. I'm gonna I was like, I'm gonna line these up and then I'm just gonna be like, I'm done with it. You can kind of do this too. You can build the leg up. So if you build up one leg like this, you gotta be careful with how it ends up looking. And so let me see, get a good guide with this one because this one's stepping forward. So yeah, I think I might just glue it like this and then just kind of eyeball it the rest of the way. Oh, okay, so this leg right here is on this side. Oh, yeah, you can't change it. I was like, I want to put it on this side. Nope, it won't work. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a nice little bit of super glue right here on the joint. We're gonna get this part, we're gonna, let's see, yeah, that'll be fine. Stick that right on there. All right, and then lean it forward because we're matching this pattern. And kind of go right about there should be fine. So you got that nice little lean forward on that. And once you get it where you want it to go, that's when you can hit it with the accelerator, and just to have it stay in place. Give it a few seconds with the accelerator, and then you're good to go. And the way I did the first Decimator is just focus on one leg at a time, and just kind of taking it slow, and then everything works out. And so the center balance probably right about there on the center balance. So I will do the same thing. Oh, looks like I got, oh, looks like my, what do they call it? I ordered some more super glue because they're running out, so it looks like that super glue is en route. That is pretty neat. So, alright, so we got this right about where we want it, and this is all kind of eyeballing it for the first leg. Alright, and oh, lost the top of my spritzer there. Give it a little spritz from behind. And then I just hold it till it seats, till the glue starts to settle. Alright, and so now that I've done this one, now I can put it up here, and I can kind of figure out where I want this one. Someone made the joke that these look like bionics, which they kind of do. And so with the front foot, you're going to be leaning a little bit forward on this ball joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice little eyeball look, and I want it to be leaning forward, but I don't want the front armor plate to be touching the toes, because on this one they're not touching, but they're just hovering over the top of the toes. So we're going to do that. We're going to just have it hovering right over top of the top. Alright, so now with this one, I just put a little bit of glue in the ball joint, and then I'm going to spray the ball joint on the leg. Okay, now we're going to take it, and we're just going to really carefully, if it sits wrong, then we'll have to glue it, we'll have to ice it. We get a couple seconds of futzing around here, and then we should be fine. Yep. Alright, so now we're in there, we're committed to the first leg. So now that we have the first leg, we have a reference point for the second leg. And so luckily, since it's a ball joint, we do have some play right here, so that's good. But we're going to do the next one, and let's see if we can dry fit this the way I want it to look. And this one should still lean forward on the leg, and then lean back a little bit. So, okay, so it's going to lean back quite a ways on this back foot. Okay, so that's looks about like that. Cool. All right. All right, well, I'll come back after I get this all squared away, because I don't know if I really want to film this or not. All right, so I got the middle section of the leg. What I wanted to do is I wanted to actually film this part, where you put a little bit of glue on the leg joint, and then you want to put some glue on the ball joint. Actually, you could put some glue inside these ball joints, because what we're going to do is to set it perfectly. What we want to do is we want to line it up, because I was a little high, but we can still solve our problem. A little high up on the middle section of the leg, but we can still level them out. All right, and get a little tweak in there. All right, and so we're looking pretty good. So I just you want to hold it steady. glue set, and then get it from behind. Okay, with the accelerator. Get the accelerator all in there, set those bonds. Alright, good to go. That's a little demon engine. It's not going to walk super perfect every time. So looking at this, I went for a little bit slower, lower leaning down slope for this one, and I went for a little bit more high and perched up. And what I want to do is I want to take some more super glue. We'll dry. I want to take some, but this time not the gel super glue. I want to take some of this thin. I want to take this thinner super glue and I want to run it in between the gears right here. Kind of let it go down in the crevasse. There we go. Get it all in there. All right. And then dab it up a little bit. Okay. So that is squared away. Legs feel pretty sturdy. Now we want to test it out. We want to put this part on top of here and see how it sits. And I think it sits pretty well. Yep. Obviously it'll sit better once it's glued, once it's done. But if you see here, I think it sits on there pretty nicely. Cool. All right, now we all we have left are these little knee pad covers, and it shows them on that side and it shows it on that side. So you have like the monster. Let's see if it looks cool. If I swap it around. Oh, did I do it upside down on the other one? Oh, I did do it upside down. That's kind of funny. So on this one, I did I thought this was just like another, it's actually the bottom of this thing's mouth. So you should be able to, I might have to put this in the freezer. I did it upside down. That's kind of funny. So this actually is supposed to be this creature's bottom jaw, lower jaw part, and I put it in upside down on the first one I did. So I'll have to correct that later. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit of super glue right back over top of where we just had some super glue. And then we're just gonna take this bad boy, hit it with the accelerator. You always want to make sure you wash your hands after this. We're just gonna line it up roughly where I think it should go. There we go. All right, so interesting. Yeah. Now, super glue bonds are a lot easier to break than plastic glue bonds. So if I just give it a little, yeah, it'll just pop right off. All right, now I flip it upside down and fix it because I put it on the wrong side. And we just put a little bit more super glue on top. And then we can hit it with the accelerant. Got a little bit on there, and we just stick it right back on there. Now, if this was plastic glue, that probably would have been a lot more of a pain in the ass. But with the super glue, especially since this being such a small part and only having so much glue contact and surface area, I think it worked out just fine. All right, cool. I'm going to put this last little piece on here. Once this last little piece is on there, then we are done. No, actually, well, we're not done, but pretty much for the most part done. All right. Cool, we got that one just stuck on there. Oh, not perfectly. It wants to slide off. Let's get it, some of that speedy juice. All right. Okay. So the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to drill into the bottom of this. We set those legs over there for that one, and we got these legs for this one. Oh. Well, with that being said, I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, apologies for that little bit of an interruption. My fiance called me, and had to talk to her, missed her all day. Yeah, so all I did was I added three drill holes and the 1mm with the 1mm drill bit, and got him on a stick, or got him on a cork. And he's not too heavy; he's pretty light, so this one cork will be fine. And you can always just like set him down when you're not painting him, and then just pick him back up and paint him. And he will stand up if you got a flat enough surface. But yeah, so there we go. We got the leg assembly sub-assembled. We got the two weapons sub-assembled, and we got the two shoulder pad armor things sub-assembled, and we have the center torso sub-assembled. So good to go. This should be one of the easiest ways to get it all painted. Should have pretty good clearance for all the brushes. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. And I don't know when the next time I'm going to be doing a build video. It might be. I do these when I'm inspired, or like when I have a kit that's not super common, because I looked up the Decimator and I just couldn't find a video for how to build a Decimator, and so I figured I'd make one and how to magnetize it. So, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you around next time. You can support you can hit like, you can hit subscribe, you can leave a comment down below, and if you want to, there's a link to my Instagram where I post pictures on my Instagram more often than I post YouTube videos, and yeah, there's a link to my novel if you want to help me with a little bit of sending some money my way, and you get a product out of it. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you around. Goodbye.